So it's so funny because you've just come here, you know. You made a big effort, and you've just been racing through your day, and you're finally here and sitting here, and all day long you've been stressing about something. And then I suggest, you know, that you might come up with something stressful. And given the opportunity to cultivate compassionate heart by wishing for that stress of yourself and all the others to be removed, and total blank, numb, can't do it. The other is you start off fine for the first, 2.5 seconds, and then like with a sitting meditation, you become distracted by thoughts of something else, and then suddenly this little gong rings again, and you come back and realize, well, you did it really pretty well for 2.5 seconds. Some of you may have gotten in some touch with something so deep and so vulnerable and tender that it was actually very painful, and there was fear of overwhelm. Even in 4.5 minutes, if the subject is very close to home and very filled with fear and insecurity and sadness or sadness for you, sometimes you have no trouble finding something to do this for, but there's fear of overwhelm, of it becoming too much. And various other scenarios. For some, I started with, I've just lately been in touch with a lot of people in prison, some of them having a very hard time, some of them being harassed, and it's always pretty hard in prison in any case. And so I started doing for them, and then it kept morphing into other subjects. So sometimes you just start with one thing, and many subjects come up. Sogyal Rinpoche has written a book which was very popular, and as they say, authors covet the term New York Times bestseller. I wish I could be a New York Times bestseller. So he was, and the book was called The Tibetan Book of Living and Dying, and maybe some of you have read it. There's a wonderful section in it on Tonglen, quite a full section. And I'll be working with you, introducing you to some of his ideas during the weekend. But one of the things he talks about in there is how in Tibet it was very common, and probably still is common for Tibetans who are refugees, Tibetans in exile, was that if they are dying of an illness, and they know they're dying, that they begin to do the practice of Tonglen, of taking in all the illnesses of all the other people that are dying, wishing to take on all the mental fear and anger and various other emotional reactions to the illness, as well as the physical pain, and just breathing in with the intention of using their experience of illness that's leading to their death as a link with all the other people that are ill and who are dying. So breathing in with the wish to relieve everybody else. It's sort of the attitude. So since I'm feeling this anyway, let it have meaning for me. Let it be the seed of compassion and empathy for all these other people, because I know how they're feeling. It's not theoretical to me. I am very ill and I am dying. So I can stand in the shoes of millions of people. So they breathe in, wishing to relieve all the other people. And the belief system behind it is that they are purifying all their negative karma so they can die free of all that heavy burden of negative karma just by doing this practice. So that what usually we resent and fear and push away, our illness that's leading to our death, instead becomes like a stepping stone or the very means by which our heart and mind become open. And it becomes the very means by which we free ourselves from the prison of self-absorption or all caught up in ourselves. It becomes the means by which we realize our interconnectedness, and we realize that we not only are interconnected, but that it isn't just my suffering, it's universal suffering. And by knowing it myself, I know a lot about each of you, and I know something about everyone who's living on the whole planet. Because to the degree that I've felt fear, I know the fear of all human beings and animals. To the degree that I've been in the clutches of despair or depression, I know the taste and smell of everyone's depression. To the degree that I've grieved or felt hopeless, I know hopelessness and grief of all people. To the degree that I've been caught up and carried away by anger, revenge, bitterness, hard-heartedness of all kinds, I know the anger and bitterness and revenge, the taste of it in my mouth. I know what it tastes like in everyone else's mouth too. So this is part of the Tonglen practice. It takes you out of yourself, but you use yourself and your own experience as the basis for opening your heart as big as the universe and for connecting with the vastness of your being, the vastness of your mind. It's an amazing practice, actually. It's an amazing practice.